Roman Empire is there. Did Roman Empire have any unity? Did it not have treachery inside? Just survey the politics of Roman Empire. There is so much of infighting, so much of treachery, backstabbing, everything was there. Still, they could sustain. Because it's not because of any of these factors. What matters end of the day, are you an expanding force or a contracting force? If you are defending your own territory from outsiders, you are in a very different position in military and political sense and economic sense. And if you are an expanding force, you are in a very different position. You have the advantage of going after the enemy, and infighting would automatically operate differently. Infighting in a defending force would be seen the way we are currently seeing. One guy has backstabbed and we lost the war, all these things. In an expanding force, infighting would result in people getting divided and going and attacking different targets on the opponent side. So we'll need to understand this difference. The Roman force was an attacking and expanding force. Similarly, the Islamic force was also an attacking and expanding force. Same with the Mongols. This is not an ideology difference exactly. This is how the situation played out at that time. Today, we look back and even if we apply it to today's situation, the infighting would play in a damaging way, as we keep reading into our infighting or caste fighting or the kings not being united, all these things. This will start operating very differently once we take an expanding mindset instead of a contracting mindset. If we see ourselves as a shrinking society, a shrinking geography, the infighting will all be faced in waves. The moment we start seeing this is the time to look out and expand, all this infighting would start playing out very differently. It would be damaging externally, not internally. The question is whether the Hindus at that time, when they were facing these invasions, were they in a position to expand or contract? So on the West, there was, given the size of the empires that were on the attacking mode, there was no way we could expand from there on the West. So eastwards, we actually expanded and increased our resource base that gave us a cushion to fight back. We eventually built empires that are big enough and removed the invaders from our territory. So this is how I would see it in a big picture. We can always dig down into specific instances. Are there traitors? Yeah, there are traitors in Rome also. There are traitors in Islamic society also. There are traitors everywhere. That is human nature. Question is, how is it dealt?
See, some amount of traitors will always be there. I mean, they've been around from the time of Ramayana. Vibhishan was a traitor in a way, right? But the point is the quantum of those traitors. It's like you can have a little bit of poison and nothing will happen to your body, but beyond a point, it starts hurting you. So the point is, what is the quantum of traitors and what incentive do traitors have to continue to be traitors?
Yeah, so that depends on your current phase. Are you expanding or contracting? That's exactly what I'm saying. In an expanding phase, infighting and all this backstabbing would operate very differently. Its consequences would be very different. In a defending mode, it would operate very differently. In a defending mode, one guy gives the secret, then your fort collapses. In an expanding mode, that is not required. You have infinite resources. There is the whole world you can go and plunder. So the same phenomenon has different results in different situations. But did we not have unity? I don't think that's the historic reality. I mean, people did come together. Big federations were created. Confederacies were created. Obviously, we didn't have a single political union. That was never the case. And in spite of not having that, people did come together. So it was goodness of people against lack of a system, rather than goodness of system and people being bad. One factor we historically ignore is, can we name any other society where a movement like Gorak or the Nagas or today's Hindutva, the RSS, VHP, the whole bandwagon of, how come this kind of huge organizations or movements come up grow to such a size and deliver such output only in this society. If this society does not have unity, it's a paradox, right? I mean, it's not possible that society is not inherently having that ability or the will to generate, and still these things get generated. It's not obviously the wisdom of one Gorakhnath or one Khalsa Guru. It's basically because society is like that. It has been producing people like this, leaders like this, and organizations like this. We have greatly undermined the greatness of Hindu society when we say that we lack this or lack that. Now, why do we need to do this? It's not a question of self-pride or anything. If we do not accurately apprise our society, we will not learn the lessons that our ancestors have taught us. The lesson that Vidyaranya has for us, the lesson that the Khalsas had for us. Today we are not implementing any of those because we have, in our own ego, actually undermined their own wisdom. If we have not drawn upon their wisdom, obviously we cannot use that to build what is required today and to face our future. So the primary lesson they gave for us, the weapon they gave to us in facing the Abrahamics is they have understood the nature of the enemy. The main instrument of the enemy is fear or terror. Once you have defeated that one thing, the fear, you have defeated the enemy. And they did demonstrate it, whether it is Banda Bairagi or the Marathas or the Khalsas, anybody. They have seen fear eye to eye, which today's leadership or society is unable to do. It's not because society has become suddenly wimpy. Society has been as valorous today as it was earlier. But the leadership has failed to draw upon this lesson that our people gave us. And that is why we are not actually seeing any aggressive leadership today. We are only seeing very passive and defensive leadership. And that makes all the difference. A good leadership would lead you to victory. So the lack of, where we are actually failing, we'll need to identify and pinpoint that so that we can make correction there. So far, it's been wrong diagnosis, putting blame on the caste or the lack of unity or this or that. I don't think that is accurate at all.